Okay, so we are live on YouTube and we're ready to go and start the public hearing. So Chairman, Carrie, if you would like to start. Well, I guess let me just quickly run through my spiel if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, so everyone in the waiting room, our first item of business will be the public hearing for the transfer of a liquor license into the city of Lebanon. So the applicant will have an opportunity to present their information. When the hearing portion of the presentation or the presentation part of the hearing is over, then the public would have a right to voice any comments or ask any questions at that time. And then when we are done with all public comment and all testimony, we will close the public hearing and then we'll go right into the pre-council meeting. And again, same thing when we'll be going through, the workshop, the discussion of the pre-council agenda for Monday night's meeting. And at the very end of that, there will be an opportunity for the public to offer comments or questions. So you need to raise your hand in the chat, and then we will recognize you after you raise your hand. Okay? So if you have any questions, ask a question in the chat, and we'll try and answer you as soon as we can. So with that being said, we can start the public hearing now, Mr. Chair, if you so desire.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. We're going to call to order a public hearing, July 23rd. This is a public hearing regarding the intermunicipal transfer of a liquor license to 640 Lebanon Food Corp for the use at the premises located at 640 North 7th Street, Lebanon. And I believe we have Mr. Jeremy Diaz with us and the attorneys representing him, Matt Anderson. Mr. Diaz or Mr. Anderson, your floor is yours.
All right, this is Matt Anderson. I'm not sure if you all can see me or not, but I will. I'm just going to carry on here. I have Jeremy Diaz with me. He is an owner and manager of the applicant, 640 Lebanon Food Corp. In short, this application, I know the council's familiar with these. I think you had one at one of your last meetings for a local restaurant. This is a little different. This is for the grocery store that's located at the property of 640 North 7th Street. It is been operated by the applicant since January of 2019, but I believe the store has been located there generally for the better part of 100 years, like back to the early 1900s. The applicant is a chain of grocery stores. They own I think they own up to 5 or 6 throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Right now, 4 of them have liquor licenses that have been approved at them. And just like any other grocery store, like Weiss or Giant within the city that have liquor licenses, their focus is on to-go sales of beer and wine. Beer to start initially, and then there's an additional permit to get the wine sales to go. But as you may know, their beer sales to go can be in no greater quantities than 192 ounces or a 12-pack of beer essentially, or if they get the permit for wine, 3 liters of wine, which is about 4 bottles in a single transaction. So not quite like a beer distributor where you can buy as much beer as you want, or the Pennsylvania liquor store where you can buy as much wine as you want. These are kind of limited in their sales amounts, and they're also not necessarily a business like your typical restaurant or bar that's going to have a lot of on-premises service. There's certainly not going to be any liquor sales, so no cocktails, no any alcohol like that. But the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board does require the permission of the liquor licensees to have on-premises sales in some capacity. It was fought not too long ago and kind of lost. They were trying to get it so you didn't have to have on-premises sales. And the board came back and said that everybody needs to at least offer 1 brand of beer if you're going to have on-premises sales for your on-premises, or one brand of wine. So you can't absolutely prohibit it, but you can limit it, and that is the intention of the applicant. they're not going to limit it to one brand of beer, but they do like to limit it to one or two at most while they're on premises. Part of their operational plan is they ID 100% of the customers buying anything, whether they look 20 years old or whether they look 70 years old. Everybody gets carded. Actually, as part of the wine permitting process for wine to go, they're required to scan every ID into a transactional scanning device, which is a digital card reader, to verify information of the purchaser as well as their age and validness of the liquor or the ID. The store, as you can see on the share right now, is located at North 7th Street. This is the North 7th Street side, I believe. There's a parking lot to the left with which about 30 to 40 parking spaces. Again, business has been operating there as a grocery store for quite a while. This applicant's been operating since January of 2019. And like their other grocery stores throughout Pennsylvania, they are looking to add beer sales and wine sales. We don't have a lot of plans right now because this is very preliminary. We've actually been looking for a liquor license for quite a while in the township, in the city specifically, without much luck, which is why we're here tonight. This license was acquired at the Pennsylvania liquor license auctions. So it is a Lebanon County license. It is from the municipality of South Lebanon Township. We do not know who it came from because it was an expired and/or administratively revoked license from the Liquor Control Board. So we looked in the city, couldn't find one. There's still only one license that's not being used in the city, and that's owned by Weiss. And I'm guessing they're waiting to use that at one of their stores. So there's really none available here to use, which is why we're in front of the city council tonight. But back to the location, as you'll see on the bottom picture, that's the main entrance of the store. The goal and the plan, and obviously with all sorts of city approvals that are required for any renovation or construction, would be to locate the beer sales area next to where the hot foods are located currently. I believe as you enter the store to the left, there's hot food areas where they currently sell Latin style food to go, rotisserie chickens, fried chicken, other fried items, and various other hot foods that they have. It'll be next to that. Their design is usually to enclose these areas so they're not widely open and accessible to everybody in the store, kind of to control traffic in the area, as well as to monitor who's entering the area to avoid having minors or people that shouldn't be in there in the area. So they'll kind of usually make a cove type area, so kind of surrounded by shelving and/or the food to contain the alcohol service or sale area. But that's the general goal right now. I don't have too much detail yet. They will certainly present all of that to the township when it is available. But this, as you probably know, is our first step to even moving forward with adding these sales to the store. Would be getting your approval this evening to use this license. A little more about the operation. It's probably going to be about a 500 or 600 square foot area within the store. The hours of the operation of the store currently are 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. There's no current plans to expand those hours with regard to the sales of alcohol. They generally serve most of their hot food until about 6 or 7 p.m., but they will still always have the required amount of food available, whether it's some prepared, fried foods or whatnot. So there's no plan to increase the hours. Certainly no plans to be a restaurant or a bar per se within the township, or to be a nuisance or cause any trouble with the neighbors. I believe they've struck up a fairly good relationship with their surrounding neighbors, but I'm sure we'll hear tonight if that's not the case. Other than that, they're currently increasing security presence at the property via cameras. They're planning on adding 21 cameras to the inside of the store area and approximately 8 cameras on the outside of the premises. Obviously, a lot of cameras will be focused on the alcohol service area, which will be obviously to monitor the actions of people inside of there, as well as make sure the people that are in there are supposed to be in there, aka no minors, no visibly intoxicated people, no people that shouldn't be purchasing alcohol. Other than that, they have all servers and staff will be ramp trained, which is the responsible alcohol management program through the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. They are required to have that to obtain their wine expanded permitting. But that program essentially teaches the staff the proper IDing methods, the proper methods for noticing visibly intoxicated patrons, as well as different ways to follow the other requirements of the Liquor Control Board. As I said before, everybody will be scanned their ID every single time. That's part of the wine sales process and has been adopted by the company company-wide amongst all their stores. To date, we're happy to report that none of the stores that they have had any sort of issues or citations with the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. I knock on wood on that because you never know. But they've been responsible operators in the state, and they continue to plan to do that with this location should we be approved this evening. As I said, this is very preliminary, and that's really a lot of what I have for you this evening. There's not much more detail prepared for the story yet due to the preliminary nature, but obviously that will all be brought before zoning, planning, or whatever is needed from the city for permitting processes during that time frame as they move forward. And I'm happy to take any questions or whatever the remainder of the process is. Jeremy's here to answer questions in more detail, and I might be able to provide as well if needed.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, I have a few questions just to start out with, and then we're going to turn it over to some other questions too. Just some on your initial plan. You do have, like you said, you do have to do some serving. What kind of seating are you planning on there, and what amount of seating? And are you planning on a separate register at that area with an employee that stands or monitors that area the whole time?
Yes, they will. Initially, to your question on the register, they're required to have a separate register for the alcohol area. There is some pending legislation to allow the use of other registers in the store for alcohol sales, but that's not passed yet. But they do plan on having their own register. I believe they have one there now, partially for the hot food, but there will be one with an employee staffed at it to monitor the alcohol area. And with regard to your question about seats, I believe their plan is to keep it to the minimum 30 seats. Usually it's between 30 and 35 in their stores. That is what's required by the liquor code and the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. And they generally do a mix of table seating and some bench seating and bar wall seating. But generally it'll be as minimum as they're supposed to have and not much more than that.
And at that time, would people be allowed to eat hot food there at the same time?
That would be the case. With everything going on with the coronavirus, a lot of the on-premises stuff is a little different right now. But generally, with everything back to normal, they would allow to have people eat hot food there. And as I said before, they would be required to offer a minimal amount of alcohol consumption on premises as well.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I'm going to move on. I know some other people have a bunch of questions. Who has a question?
So I don't have a question, but I have some information from our health and sanitation supervisor that I would like to offer. So is now the time you would like to hear that, Mr. Chair?
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay, so Mr. Llanos is our supervisor. So Glenn, would you like to? Janelle, can you share the screen?
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Glenn Llanos, and I'm the food safety inspector here in the city of Lebanon. I've been in food safety for 36 years. I've worked in food safety. I've been the inspector for the city of Lebanon for the past 2 years. I'm very familiar with the Ideal Supermarket. And in fact, I've done 19 inspections there since March of last year, 2019. Those inspections have been out of compliance. There's a large history of problems there. So what we'll do is we'll just go through some pictures that I have, and I'll also be discussing various situations. So This week I did an inspection. You can see from the picture that chicken is being held at the wrong temperature. And this is not because of the equipment, it's because of stacking it too high inside of the equipment. And we've talked about this with them numerous times. They continually do it, and the food is not the right temperature. This is very concerning at this time of year because a person would take it out in their hot car, and of course the bacteria, which could already have been growing because it's in the danger zone, would really multiply. This was also this week, they stacked milk outside of the cold zone. This milk was 55, over 55 degrees, and then it was discarded. Next slide. So one day later, when I went back in to give them their report, and I showed Jeremy, who's on the call with us here, I wanted to show him what was going on the day before. When we walked over to the dairy cooler, here we saw the exact same thing that was found on the previous day. And they were doing the same thing again. Next slide. So on May 7th, the owners contacted me. They had constructed a whole new hot food area, and they called for me to come and do an inspection, which we scheduled for the next day. Previous to this, they had an older area with some old equipment, and that had a history of problems with temperature, but this was brand new steam table, brand new equipment. And as you can see, when I got there on May 8th, there were 6 items that were not at the correct temperature. The next time I went back on July, I found additional items. And again on July 21st. And in each of these times, they did not have a thermometer for checking the food temperature available. And that's like a $6 piece of equipment. Next slide. So yesterday, while I was delivering the inspection report, I observed that the food was sitting way up high out of the hot zone, which was something that I talked to them about the day before. Now they had found their thermometer, and you can see this food was in the danger zone again, and 98.7 at one place with my thermometer, and it was 94.2 degrees with theirs. The owners are very familiar with the rules. They understand what the danger zone is, and they just are lax about the rules. Next. So this was something that we had a complaint, a consumer complaint, April of 2019. Someone sent me pictures. I don't have the picture of labels. They said labels were being changed, new dates putting over the labels. So in this case, I found it in May. I found it both times, but in May, when I went in, they had a package of Hillshire Farms sausage dated May 9th, and they put a little tiny sticker that said special right over top of that date on the package, and then put another date on it with their meat department sticker that said May 30th. Next slide. So I worked with my Department of Ag liaison, who worked with local health departments, and we created a warning letter dated May 30th. And it dealt with hot food being held in the danger zone, changing dates, failing to date items, thermometers that were not available or calibrated, the improper order of storing meat, and storing food items in an area where they could become contaminated. Right. So the warning letter required them to write a reply, which they did, and I got it on June 5th. And in that reply, they stated that hot food would be checked every 2 hours. They would also train employees and make sure to stack things in the correct order from top to bottom. They said they would set schedules to routinely check temperatures in every department. Informed employees about proper dating and when to discard food. Thermometers would be available and calibrated. They talked about storing food items where they could be contaminated, that would be corrected. So in July of this, just in July of this year alone, every violation was observed except the one about falsifying the dates with other stickers. And absolutely no evidence that they can present that they are checking temperatures. And they're the ones that said they would have it. And in fact, because I spent my life with food safety, I created some and shared them with them of how you can record temperatures. And I also created some forms for training and gave it to them to show them how to document training with their employees. And it could be the same training on one side and use pictures, but to have it in English and Spanish so that make sure the point is being communicated to your employees. None of this has been done. So next slide. So also in this year, they are remodeling the facility. They're doing a nice job on the remodeling, the areas that they've done, and that's an improvement. In this instance, they removed essential food safety equipment. I don't know when, in May or June, the meat department was remodeled. Permitted the hand washing sink and the system for cleaning and sanitizing the meat cutting equipment and the meat area to be removed, reinstalled while they were operating it. I don't know how long that went on, but then after I was there on July 8th, they did reinstall it on July 10th. Next slide. Here on July 8th is an example, 2 examples of outdated food. Next slide. Here was a dirty food contact surface. So in March, after the COVID started, I went around to a facility that I thought might be having unwrapped self-service items. And we found a huge amount of bakery items that were unwrapped and people could just touch. They were all discarded. Within a month, we had gotten 1 complaint. The picture on the left there was taken by one of my employees, not by me. And that as the result of a consumer complaint. And 2 pictures I took. So we found 3 examples of things that were unwrapped self-service items that any customer could be touching. This was in the beginning of COVID. These are just some things that we see outside. The refuse is not in dumpsters and the dumpster lids are not closed. Next slide. And here we have weeds and trash. So we really have a history of problems at this store, unfortunately, and they are making improvements in the physical part of it, but it's the employee training and the management oversight that's the most concerning. And I've worked with them. I have a very good relationship with the 2 owners, and they never argue with me on anything that I'm finding. They just don't seem to correct on a permanent basis. That's all I have for now.
Glenn, could you also share what you saw in the basement when you went there the other day for an inspection?
Yeah, so there was one section of the store where they're doing some heavy duty, like they have a jackhammer, it sounded like. So they closed off the one section. And I asked during the inspection, well, how do we get to that area? So they took me down to the basement where there used to be stairs coming up from the other end into that area. But right now, when you're in the basement, the one exit was, you couldn't get out. So there's only one exit from the basement, even though they do work down there. And that was concerning also.
Okay. And I think the Public Works Director has something she'd like to share, and maybe the Fire Commissioner as well. Robin?
Okay, so my name's Robin Getz. I've been with the city for 6 years, and prior to that, I had 28 years with municipal government. I have been the assistant zoning officer and code processor in both positions that I've held. Unfortunately or fortunately, I drive past this store on a regular basis. I did note that there were some changes. A large dumpster appeared outside. We contacted our building code inspector to look into the situation. He responded today and found that they are well outside of what their last building permit entailed. Their last building permit was closed in May of this year with the final inspection. So everything else is outside of that. And he did issue a cease order until they get their permitting in place. They currently were working without permits, which was very visual from the street. So we are waiting for the owners to make contact for both demolition and new construction plans, because we have not seen anything for changes to this store. That's all I have right now.
Thank you. Commissioner, is there anything you wanted to add with fire code?
Yes, sorry, my phone. I have an open notice of violation against the store for years, several years, trying to find compliance with regards to emergency lighting, exit lighting, the provision of a Knox box. I don't have it in front of me. I was out on a fire call. I apologize. But the NOV remains open for a few items. Just like Mr. Llanos says, the owners are very nice, and they indicate their willingness to comply with these requirements, but it just doesn't get done. So it's a similar pattern when it comes to the fire department inspections as well.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, I would just summarize by saying that I guess the city's just concerned with the lack of consistency with following city ordinances and codes, some of them which are state mandated through the Uniform Construction Code. And I guess we'd like to hear from the attorney for the grocery store or the owner himself on how they would like to address that.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. There's some serious things to consider here. Mr. Diaz or Mr. Anderson, can you help us out a little bit, please?
Sure. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Hi. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Is this Mr. Diaz?
This is Mr. Diaz. Yeah. I don't know
Okay,
if
thank
Matt
you,
wants
sir.
to chime in as well. So in regards to, I guess I'll just go one by one here. Regards to Mr. Llanos, we are very aware of all the violations, as he said. We have a good relationship with him. We've been doing our best to, train our employees. There have been times where they haven't necessarily followed our training, but corrections have been put in place. We are starting a new safety protocol in the store. We're going to put another employee in charge of that area. In terms of the construction, I was under the understanding that the construction that we were doing there was part of the permit we had. I wasn't aware that the permit was closed by Josh, I believe his name, the inspector. So in regards to that, I thought the permit was still open. So we did some work there, and but that stopped, once he came. As far as the fire violations, we addressed those as well. When Dwayne came in and inspected those, we addressed those as well. I was under the understanding that we addressed those as well. Matt, I don't know if you want to jump in, Matt, but
Yeah, I guess obviously those are all very serious allegations, and I can see where the concern would come from, especially with the future potential of having a liquor license there as well, and the various compliance from that part. I'm actually always of the opinion that the liquor licenses almost ensure more compliance on their end, for two reasons. One reason, it's a valuable asset. If they don't follow all of the items you're discussing, whether it's your health code, the state health code, the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Code, or any of your local fire codes or anything like that, they could literally lose that liquor license. So I understand the concern. I do think that I'm sure they're willing to work with the city, and it does sound like they've tried to, or could probably do a better job at getting that done and furthering compliance. I'm sure they would be welcome to the city requiring compliance with those outstanding items and future compliance in all areas, or risk any sort of violation that could come down from that. But again, I do generally, it's not always the case, obviously, with some restaurants and bars, but a liquor license can tend to make people fall into compliance due to the valuable nature of the asset. And I will say that knowing their other stores, they do operate them that way. I know this is a newer store for them that they haven't owned for very long. But I have seen general compliance. Their stores are in Allentown, Bethlehem, Reading. Those stores, don't have any issues. This is the first hearing that I've had with them that I've actually heard of these things. So, I think we can get to a point where required compliance will be followed and should be followed. And I do believe that the liquor license would possibly help that process along, just due to the nature of it. And they're required to have a health permit. So if the health permit would be revoked, it would certainly put their liquor license on hold. So they're making an investment there. They seem to be making an investment to spruce up the store a little bit. I think we could obviously do some better training and do all that with their employees, and obviously with alcohol, they'd be trained by the state no matter what. But the issues are certainly well noted. I'm sure, I don't know if tonight's the night to do that, but they will certainly have to go through all of your building code processes and all that right now, as they have stopped construction. And I don't know if they've had enough of a working relationship that we can be of assistance on some of these health code issues, maybe with them, or anything like that. But Jeremy, I'm sure you can chime in. I'd imagine you do want to get yourself in full compliance with everything that was discussed tonight.
Yeah, no, 100%. Listen, we have protocols in place at our other locations. Like I said, we haven't had any issues. We're looking to put those same protocols in place here. And I feel I would love to invite everyone here on the board to come to the store, introduce themselves. I'll introduce myself to them. Walk the store. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the store in the past, but we've made some, pretty incredible improvements to the store. We look to continue to improve, especially in the health and safety department. I would love for people to come out and take a look. Everything we've done.
Okay.
So-
Is there any other? Oh, go ahead, Mayor.
I'm sorry. So the only other item I had was an email from a nearby property owner who could not be in attendance tonight. But I can, of course, share the email with the applicant, but her name is Judy Plumler and she lives on Canal Street. And she wrote saying that she is opposed to giving a liquor license to Ideal Food Market located at 640 North 7th Street. And she listed 3 bullet points. She said that due to all the food violations they continually have, if they can't be responsible to keep a clean store, how will they obey the Pennsylvania liquor law? She said also, as a resident of Canal Street, that she notices they do not clean up their property on the outside regarding the weeds and just garbage lying around, and that she has to pick up garbage from the alley from people who don't care about littering. And she also, there's a senior center and a senior housing located across the street, and the concern is for their safety. If they can't monitor their cleanliness of the store, how will they make sure no one is leaving the premises intoxicated? She also added that she felt there was enough stores to provide alcohol to our citizens, Turkey Hill, Giant, Italian Village near this facility, and that another one isn't needed. And she wanted you to consider her reasons for opposing the liquor license transfer. One of my questions, the only other thing I had to add was, one of the things is to determine the distance between like elderly housing complexes, public housing, churches, schools, and things like that. Has the applicant, I don't know, Attorney Anderson, if you know the answers to, like, I know there's a church, I don't know what the distance is. I haven't measured that. Have you done that?
We, at this point, we've kind of vetted what we know that the Liquor Control Board will have an issue with. Generally, those issues pop up, not so much as at this point. We will hear a commentary like the letter that you just read, or email you just read, excuse me. But usually at the point of, at this point, we don't get to that stage yet unless required by the city. Some cities do require you to notify every resident and business within a certain square footage of the area. But when you put, if this would be approved tonight, we put that big orange placard in the window. That's the point where every local business within, every licensed business within 500 feet, or excuse me, every resident within 500 feet, every church or a similar type business, whether playground, school, gathering place for children, stuff like that, within 300 feet, and every licensed business within 200 feet gets the chance to protest the application to the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. At that point, there's a hearing held where the Liquor Control Board will do their presentation on the surrounding area, and the people that are protesting can present why they are protesting, and as well the applicant gets a chance, obviously, to put their case on why it is not an issue. So at this point, we usually don't do that to answer your question directly, but I do see, I'm looking at a map now, it looks like there's a church that might be within 300 feet. Obviously some residences in the area, so.
And there's a playground on Hill Street, which would be directly north on Hill Street. So there's a playground, a church, public housing for elderly people, and a senior center. I think those would be probably the closest things that I can think of.
Yeah, and as I said, as soon as that orange placard goes in the window, that's the notice to the public of, this is your time to protest this license. After, obviously, that this is also an option to do that at the municipal level, but that's the state's process of getting, I guess, neighborhood comment, if you will, on the transfer of a license to an individual company and to an individual location. So usually at that point, we have figured out a lot of that stuff, but I do not have the exact details of exactly everything there.
So, Mr. Chair, the city staff has no additional information.
Okay, I thank them for their time and their presentations very much. Mr. Anderson and Mr. Diaz, I kind of maybe look at, instead of you saying that the liquor license is a really important asset to make your store step up and be better, I think your most important asset of your store is your customers. And I understand that you want to give them more for full service, but I don't think, I think maybe it would be, they would like that fuller service if they would feel more comfortable health and safety wise, if those issues were cleared up before you moved on to the next step.
Um,
I understand you're saying that the liquor license will make you a better store. I think it's your customers that are going to make you a better store. And my concern is for the safety and well-being of the customers, the citizens of Lebanon.
if I may, or I don't know.
Sure.
Oh,
No, go
okay.
ahead. Thank you.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, I feel like we're creating from the moment we started here, we've created a much better supermarket, grocery store, here in Lebanon. Incredibly better experience, coming in the store, from the previous owner, and even the owner before that. I would invite, to come in and even talk to some of the customers and talk to them and see how amazed they are at all the work we've done. I think the customers are actually very impressed and are enjoying the experience a lot more.
How about some other people from council? Do you have any questions from council?
May I ask a question, please? This is
Sure.
Ms. Keller, Amy Keller. I don't know if you can all see me or not. This question's for Mr. Llanos. Mr. Llanos, I mean, it's clear that these violations are compelling, and if this were not approved by council, at what point would you consider these health code violations rehabilitated? So how many consecutive inspections or months of improvement would you consider these to be rehabilitated, so that if this were ever to come before us again, you would be able to give a better report in support of this?
So after I started here and working with my Pennsylvania Department of Ag liaison for local health departments, we had some other places in the city that had failing inspections. And he suggested we put them on quarterly schedules or twice a year schedules, depending on the risk. And so we did that. There's several that have been on a quarterly schedule for more than a year. I've seen significant improvement in these places. And so what I've been doing is when I can go a year of no failures at a quarterly schedule, then I will move them to a twice a year schedule and then back to an annual schedule. And this is what's outlined in the food code, that you shall do more frequent inspections based on history. I think that they have the potential to improve. They are definitely improving the physical aspect of the building. It's great to see that, but it is all of the behavioral things that they are just not doing. And that's the easy part, really. You just need to be training employees, managing them. When I go around with them, like I said, we have a very good relationship. I spend a lot of time with these guys in there. Everything that we see, they completely agree with me that it's a failure, and it's things that are very simple to see. They just are not walking around and looking and enforcing the things. But I think if we went for like a year, that would be a good sign. But
A year of quarterly inspections.
Yes.
And because you've said you've been out 19 times in the past, how many months?
Year and a half.
Okay. And and this is just for my own knowledge, I'm just wondering, is there ever a point where there is any sort of like a fine or anything that's issued
Well,
for
I
repeat
told them on Tuesday that I will be issuing a citation for failing to do the things they said they would do in the letter to me last year. It's just too many repeat things. We don't close down a place unless there's a severe imminent health hazard. Like I've closed 2 places down and they had severe infestation of rodents and rodent feces in the food areas. Um, Most of the things we're finding, they correct at the time, they throw away the food, they relocate things on the shelves. But it's just repeat issues over and over again, unfortunately.
And I just have a couple more questions. When you go in, you said they say they acknowledge that there are issues. Is this the store employees? Is this the store manager, or is this Mr.
It's
Diaz
the,
himself?
it's Jeremy Diaz and Alvis Diaz, and they are the management of the store.
Okay, so it's not just a manager of the store who maybe is not communicating the message. Okay.
No, it's the two of them, and I
Okay.
always with
And,
one of them.
and one more final question, if I may. Does Mr. Diaz reside in Lebanon City? Is he close by to be helping to oversee this stuff, or is he more? I think you said there are stores in Bethlehem and Reading. Is he close by to provide oversight regularly?
Is that directed towards me? Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. No, yeah, I live in Lebanon like 3 days out of the week. Um, but not the entire. I'm not here the entire week. But we're confident, in who we put in place to manage the store. Obviously, there are much improvements we need to make, and we are going to obviously hire new people, new management to help us with these health safety violations. Yeah.
Maybe this is overstepping my bounds, but I know there's a lot of talk about compensation. So have you considered hiring someone new at an increased compensation rate to ensure that you have quality managers that are overseeing this as a way to mitigate this?
In terms of compensation for the managers?
Correct. Whoever's in charge of overseeing whatever the violations are connected to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we plan on, we compensate our employees well, you know. We plan on, like I said, we plan on bringing in new people to help us with.
I know you
Yeah.
get what you pay for, and if you want to get a quality person in there that's going to really be doing some real oversight, you may have to consider increasing what you're paying for the person in that position. It's just my personal opinion. So.
Okay. Is there any other questions from council? Any questions from media?
Yes. Laura.
Miss Laura?
Hi, good evening. Thank you. I'm curious to know Mr. Diaz, what sanctions have you placed upon the people, or who are the people that are putting the stickers over the sell-by date on the sausage and thus selling sausage that is beyond its date? Who are the people that are stacking the chicken too high so that it's too warm? Who are the people that are not keeping the fried chicken at the right temperature? And if those little things can't be handled properly, do you really feel you can maintain a quality oversight of a liquor operation when you can't keep fried chicken at the right temperature?
So in terms of the type of enforcement with our employees, a lot of the employees that we had that were, attributing to these violations, they no longer work with us. We tried to have a strict policy, as Matt said, in our other locations, we have a liquor license, we haven't had any issues. And we plan on introducing those same policies that we have in our other locations, and we enforcing them strictly. If there are employees who are attributing to the issue of health safety, they will be dealt with.
Mr. Diaz, I lived up the street from your location for the last 26 years. I grew up in that neighborhood as well. I can tell you I won't be visiting your store until these corrections are made. It's serious what we're talking about, food safety wise. And I didn't see any of these issues for all those years until you came in. So I just wanted to say, and it was a very convenient location for me, and I appreciated having the store there. But these are real safety concerns, and I can tell you, and I don't say this, I don't take this lightly when I say it. I find it very concerning that these safety and health concerns have been brought to your attention and continue not to be corrected. So I just wanted to let you know, you had stated earlier about your customers. I was one of your customers for many, many years, way before you purchased this location, and I never had any of these issues. So I just wanted to bring that up. I hope that you can address these issues and correct them, because I think this area of the city, like I said, I used this location for many, many years. And I would like to see it stay in that location for our population on the north side. Thank you.
If I may, Joseph, I'm really sorry to hear that. Have you visited our location under our management or recently?
I have.
Okay.
Like I said, it was a normal stop for me on my way home.
Okay.
I lived on North 7th Street.
All right. No, we plan on, as I said before, we plan on instituting, all the policies. Obviously, listen, we've had our health safety problems, but it's nothing that we can't fix. We have many locations and we're doing great, and this is another location, and we just have to fix it, and we have to work harder, and we will.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Do you feel that the liquor, beer and wine sales is a similar thing that you kind of do with the same as you're doing with the health and safety with the store right now, with the multiple violations and visits? Is that something you feel that you can just kind of work on as it goes?
No, absolutely not. We feel like, if we put a beer or wine here, we feel like we can, have it, completely, up to code, and, not have any violation, completely under control. That's, and we want to create, obviously for our customers, to have that possibility. We're in a very convenient location, driving, parking, walking, and we want to have that for our customers, and we feel like we can completely keep it, in good regard.
I'm going to just chime in one more time. I know I stated my piece earlier, but Mr. Morales had mentioned that he lives close to that location. I used to live right next to your store. We were the property of directly adjacent. That was the first home that we bought in the city. So we were neighbors to the store for, I think, about 7 years we lived there. And when I lived there, I was always picking up trash, beer bottles at the side of our property, in the back at our garage. It was a constant issue. And when I saw the picture of your trash can overflowing, my heart sort of took a dive for the people who bought the house from us, because I know that they're dealing with obviously an exacerbation of what I had been dealing with for so many years in that area. And it obviously, it doesn't look like it has improved. So I think that you do have a lot to work on, and you want to make sure that you're not neglecting the outside of your store as well. That's just my piece as well, because it was something similar as far as residence and location.
And for the record, Ms. Keller, I do no longer live on the North 7th Street address, so.
I no longer do either. Yeah, we have since
Yeah.
moved. Yeah, I know that.
But I would agree with you. The outside doesn't look like it's cared for, and again, it doesn't present a good image for the city, and I don't believe it shows that the owners care about the city either when they have conditions like that.
Is there any other questions from council? And we've done media. Is there any questions from the public?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mayor, is there anything else that you would like to add?
No.
Okay. Mr. Diaz, I don't know much about running a grocery store, and I know that you're trying to make a really good effort here, but I wish that in the same light that you say, oh, if I have the liquor license, we'll run it top notch from day one. Concerns me that you don't have the same care in selling hot food chicken. That concerns me because wine and alcohol sales has a much greater impact on our community, and must be done. All this must be done right. So I applaud you for coming and taking the improvements to your store, but I just really encourage you to work very hard on these health and safety issues for the improvement of your business and the longevity of your business, and also for the people of our city who really do need and appreciate a grocery store in that area right there. Thank you. Okay, is there any other questions from any other statements from Mr. Anderson or Mr. Diaz?
Yeah, I just have a final statement that obviously Jeremy's addressed some of them, the concerns raised tonight regarding the food safety of the area, some of the building code situations that have ceased and being taken care of now are things, again, that will need to be taken care of for them to be in compliance with your local city rules and ordinances, as well as any future operation of a liquor license business. I tell you, you revoke a health permit, they can't operate their liquor license. They get cited for various issues with selling alcohol to visibly intoxicated people. It sounds like a vigilant neighborhood that's going to pay attention. So, these violations can't be repeated with a liquor license or they lose it. I understand the initial concern, and I understand the concern of just saying that is kind of wordplay for me, but I really do believe that they do enforce compliance, or they lose the money that they paid for the thing, because the Liquor Control Board will revoke it, or they will fine them heavily. And they do work with the Department of Health and the State Department of Agriculture, and they work with the local municipalities. If you guys have a problem with the store, you now have another way of bringing issue to the store, because you can take it to the Liquor Control Board and say, we have an issue, they're not doing this, or this, we have a problem. And again, I understand these concerns that were raised tonight are related to the business as a whole, but the hearing tonight was to address the transfer of the liquor license and whether that itself will have an effect on the health, safety, welfare, and morals of the area. And I think with the clients, or with my clients and the applicants' willingness to address the issues that were raised tonight, and our belief that a liquor license will almost force them to do that, I think that we would request that council approve our request this evening, obviously subject to them complying with all the other things that you're talking about and have raised, and bringing those all into compliance. And we thank you for your time this evening.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add.
Sure. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Richard.
Jeremy, I just want, yes, Jeremy. I think everybody on our council wants to see the businesses thrive in the city, and I for sure would love to see your business thrive. But I think you need to make these changes to be more successful. And I think, having employees trained in food safety is important. You do not want to let this stuff, slide. And I think everyone, like I said, wants to see these businesses, this business thrive, and especially in that part of the city. So if these small things can't be taken care of, I don't know if we can ensure or trust your business to be successful. I want it to be successful. I want to see you guys thrive. I applaud your effort, but I think more needs to be done, and you show us that you can do this. We'll be more than happy to give you guys support. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate your input. You will see. Obviously we've made a ton of improvements, but we will continue to improve. And thank you for your input, everyone.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to share? Then we will call this public hearing closed. Okay. We're going to get started here. We're going to call to order a pre-council meeting, July 23rd, 2020. We have agenda set before you. First is assignment of prayer, and that will go to Brother Richard Wirtz. Okay, thank you, Richard. Minutes and the budget report have been sent to everyone to their emails. Mayor, did you want to bring us up with anything up to date with the budget report, please?
Sure. So we are 50% of the budget year completed, and our revenues were at 58%, and our expenditures were at 37%. So they're both, the performance is better than budget. I can say, in comparison to 2019, our revenues were 65% at this point in time. So we're not doing as well. And our expenditures were 39%. So even with all of our cuts that we made, yes, are doing even better than last year, because we cut, every single repair maintenance thing we could because of COVID. So I guess my point I've been saying for months now is that, I'm very concerned, and like I indicated in past council meetings, the PPP program, at first we thought our earned income tax for the second quarter would be extremely low, like short over $1 million, maybe even close to $1.5 million. But because of the PPP program, a lot of employees were able to maintain their jobs. And although there were, of course, challenges for the small businesses, a lot of employees still, we were receiving the earned income tax. The PPP program is going to be ending, and we're now thinking that, from all of our experts, at the third and fourth quarter of earned income tax is when we're going to see the larger decreases. And so we almost have to continue to kind of really not, just keep these cuts in place until we can see, have a better idea of how we will be affected. I can tell you that as the halfway point, the real estate taxes were short more than 226,000. Earned income tax was short almost 100,000. The rental license were just about 24,000. Code violations almost 80,000. Ordinance violations almost 12,000. Meter fines almost 15,000. Interest was almost 14,000. The rental of buildings was almost 12,000 short, and building permits was not quite $17,000 short. So just in those items alone, not looking at every single line item, but the bigger items, we were close to $700,000 short in comparison at the same time last year. So it's not quite as bad as I had anticipated, but that's again mainly due to the earned income tax not being as short as what we initially anticipated. But again, that is because of that PPP program. So I think we have to just continue the course and see what happens with our third and fourth quarters. So it's going to be hard. We'll be going into budget workshops soon. It will be hard to really come up with a budget even for next year. I'm still concerned that we've cut all of these items. Will I need to cut employees? You know, we did cut some part-time and we have not replaced employees that have left, with the exception of a zoning officer, because there's only one person in that spot and we of course need to issue permits. So we will be replacing that position, but it's been a challenging time, and, you know, not only emotionally, and for safety purposes with our employees and interaction with the public, but just the financial part of it. I've been on so many calls with, Donna says I'm always bragging when I say this, but the White House, you know, so the US Mayors Association, the PA Mayors Association, so many organizations trying to make sure that we keep our thumb on the pulse of things here, and that we're not missing anything. And so we're hanging in there, trying to do the best that we can. And just, I want you to be assured that, you know, we are trying to keep on top of this as best as we can and do absolutely everything that we can to not only keep, you know, the employees safe, but the public, and try to keep us in some type of sound financial situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Does anyone have any questions on the budget report?
Yeah, Mayor, I have a question. Just looking through, under Stover's Dam, there's a budgeted 166,000. Was that for work that was going to be done, the dredging of, and is that not happening now, or is that happening? Because I see.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So we did do some of the dredging. There's more dredging that we could do. And we were also supposed to start like one phase of the construction, but we've run into a snag with adjacent property owners and getting additional easements for if there would be a catastrophe at the dam. According to the breach analysis study, we needed to get a little bit more land from 3 property owners, and we've been negotiating with them, and it hasn't been going as quickly as we wanted it to. We're, I think, entering the last phase of that, so hopefully we can wrap that up soon and move forward with that. But it most likely, with and also because of COVID, it most likely will not happen this year, but hopefully we can still move forward and get the easements that we need so that hopefully next year we can do the construction part of it. But we will do more dredging.
So you'll just carry over that expenditure or that
Yes.
budget? Okay. One other item under fire sick leave. I saw it's 190% over budget. Just curious.
So what we do, okay, so what we do is when we budget for the upcoming budget year, we look at past history and from the prior year, and we just use that number. If someone goes out or several people go out on some type of an injury or an illness and they need to have surgery and they're using their sick time, it may go over budget. But the bottom line is, when you add up the regular salary, vacation, personal, sick, the bottom line is it all comes out in the wash. It's just in order to show some numbers in those categories, we just use the prior year's number.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It stuck out. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mayor, Joe had asked about the dredging. I thought that when they dredged it, they were gonna drain it. Do they dredge it without draining?
We can dredge it without draining. Now,
Oh,
we have to drain it to accomplish some of the things that we need to do for the construction and for repair at the head wall itself. But the areas that we were dredging, they were able to do that with special equipment.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. All right, moving along on our agenda tonight, we have 4 different communications from the mayor. The first is from the Pennsylvania Department of Auditor General, transmitting the 2019 Act 205 actual valuation report for the paid fireman's pension plan. Mayor, do you want to give us an update on that?
Sure. So if it's okay, what I'm going to say represents the 3 communications from the Auditor General.
Okay, one was for the firemen, paid firemen's, one was for the police pension plan, and the other report was from the non-uniform pension plan.
Yes. So in 1984, the state mandated that every municipality that maintains a pension plan for its employees must file this report every 2 years. And it provides a snapshot of how the plan is performing for that particular moment. Now, this particular, at the same time, and the reason why they did that was because back in 1984, and even to this day, but they realized that there were a lot of municipal pension plans that were unfunded and or distressed. So in order to get a better handle so that the residents of a municipality would know how much money was going into the pension plans, how they were funded, whether it was going to cause financial distress to other operations in the city, they required municipalities every 2 years to take this snapshot, a financial snapshot of the pension plans, and determine how they were doing every 2 years. And so this report, it's called Act 205. Our actuary puts it together, and then we send it to the Auditor General. We transmit it to the Auditor General, and then the actuary actually puts an actuarial valuation together for us. We are waiting to get that and communicate that to you, but this is the first step in transmitting the information to the Auditor General. And then the actuary, again, like I said, will give a formal report that you'll receive a copy of that as well. And that will be coming shortly. And just to add one more thing, there were new GASB requirements for auditing purposes, and they require us to do an accounting valuation every year. So on top of doing this biannually, we're now required annually to do something as an accounting valuation. It's not quite as thorough as the Act 205 actuarial valuation, but it's again part of GASB requirements, which are really good accounting practices that you need to put in place for your audit.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions about that communications from the mayor? Any questions from media about that?
No.
Any questions from the public?
No.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. All right, the last communication I have from the mayor may not possibly show up on your agenda, but the mayor has informed council of the appointment of informing council of the appointment of the following persons to the Design Review Board in accordance with section 1312.13 of the zoning code effective July 22nd, 2020. And these are appointments to the Design Review Board, and they include Janelle Mendoff, Joe Morales, Amy Kopecki, Richard Wirtz, Sharon Zook, and Guadalupe Barber. And Mayor, did you want to share anything more on that?
Sure. So this is something that we've been working on for a couple years now. It was something that was included in the zoning ordinance, and it is regarding murals and or street art. So we had created prior to the zoning ordinance, we had a policy that we created for public art and murals. And we basically took that policy and inserted it into the zoning ordinance. So really the purpose of this section in the zoning ordinance is to recognize the value. And again, like I said, this was proposed a couple years ago. It's taken us a couple of years to go through the entire process of putting together a whole entire zoning ordinance because there are so many sections involved. That's why we adopted the policy prior to it actually being a part of an ordinance. But again, it's to recognize the value of public art to citizens and visitors as an essential building block for engaging imaginative spaces that enliven enliven the public realm, foster shared community interactions, celebrate our unique stories and collective history, and inspire us to experience the world with fresh perspectives. Promote public artwork that transforms and activates civic spaces and create a unique identity for the city of Lebanon as a destination. So what we want to do is establish a diverse collection of public artworks, create works of public art with the cooperation of the community, which with the Arts Council, we last month established the Fish Out of Water, and of course many other things, but that's just the latest one. Create works of public art with the, involve local, regional, and national artists of diverse backgrounds, provide ongoing opportunities for artists to advance their art forms, consider economic development and cultural tourism, promote understanding of public art and encourage public dialogue, incorporate art and design projects of the highest quality throughout the community. In essence, create a museum without walls and making art accessible to all, and provide a legacy of art and culture for future generations. It goes on to define what all of these items are. The Design Review Board was established. It's 7 members who are appointed by the mayor, and they're appointed for 5-year terms. The initial term, they'll be staggered for some people. And what the committee determined, the 7 members would be someone from either Lebanon Valley Conservancy or the Historical Society, which is why we picked Richard, the Main Street manager, or a member of the Lebanon Foundation. So we chose Amy Kopecki. Of course, the staff person from Community and Economic Development in the city, which is Janelle. A downtown property and or business owner. I wanted to make sure that we had Hispanic, Latino members on this board. So we asked Guadalupe Barbara and she agreed to do that. The artists, I've asked an artist that Dot Perez, she has not gotten back to me yet, but she was a member of the Arts Council for many, many years, her and her husband. She also was the winner of the design for the bronze plaques on our 2 bridges. So she drew those historical buildings. And so her artwork is permanently etched on those bridges. So hopefully, I'm hoping she accepts. A member of City Council, Joe Morales, has expressed an interest from years ago when we first were discussing this. And then a representative from the Lebanon Valley Council of Arts, and Sharon Zook as the president of the Arts Council has agreed to serve in that position. So those very quickly are the people that we chose, so that we have a good representation of, again, Hispanic from our community, so that we can make sure that it's fairly represented. I'm sorry, I took longer than I wanted to. I apologize.
No, thank you, Mayor. That was good. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that?
I have to apologize. Mayor, when you sent that to us this afternoon, there were several vacancies still on your list, and I didn't know that you had already had an artist in consideration, and I thought that I might invite an artist who is prominent in the city. So I invited Scott Church to attend tonight with the, I had no idea that you had thought of Dot. So I apologize to Scott ahead of time. I thought of Scott because he's world known. He's a very prominent and well-known and talented artist here with a very vast portfolio. He does a lot of community service work in the city. He gives free portrait day every year to families, which, I mean, we have used that service. Family portraits are not cheap. I just think that he's done a lot for the community, and that's why I invited him. So I have to apologize to Scott. I had no idea that you already had someone in mind. And I don't know, is her name Dot or Dottie? What was her name again?
Dorothy, or she goes by Dot.
My grandma was Dorothy and went by Dot. Okay, I get it. So what's her last name?
Perez.
Dot Perez. Okay, thank you. The other question that I had about it is, so the way that the ordinance is written in the zoning code, or I guess it's the code. So that's letter D, the Design Review Board, and they're the way that that's worded, it looks as though they're designated to approved designs that an artist would submit. Is that correct?
They would make, if you look at
Excuse me.
subsection C, they make a recommendation to the mayor.
A recommendation for art.
For the design.
So an artist would bring a design and
To
they
the design review board.
would bring the design to the design review board. The design review board would review it. Do you have an application available for that process?
I believe as a part of putting the ordinance together, we had put one together, but I don't have it with me and it's not a part of this. It's not a part of the ordinance. We'd have to get it.
Okay. If you could get that at some point, I'd just be curious to see what the criteria would be for approval.
The criteria are listed in the ordinance.
And is that in part C?
That is in standards E.
Okay. And then the beginning of it is really nice.
It's pretty,
yeah, the beginning of it is really well written, recognizing the value of public art, promoting public art, establishing a diverse collection. So is that board who is going to be doing all of that verbiage? Who is that board establishing a diverse collection? Are they creating the art? Are they involving local and regional and national artists? Are they providing ongoing opportunities for artists to advance their art forms? Is that board going to be considering economic development opportunities for art? Because as it's written, I think that's simply a design board that would just be approving designs.
right.
So we don't have a board in place, any sort of mechanism that would be actually enacting any of those action items in Part A yet.
The city of Lebanon? No, it would be
Correct.
other organizations or.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay. All right. Moving on then, we're looking at several resolutions tonight. The one was based on our public hearing. That's approving the transfer of a liquor license to 640 Lebanon Food Corp. Purchased at PLCB liquor license auction for use at premises at 640 North 7th Street, Lebanon. Okay. Mayor, I just have a question here. Well, we can ask for anyone who would like to take that resolution, or could we ask for the folks to accept maybe an extension from their application to get some things in order?
Well, the law as I know it, and Donna can correct me, you have 45 days, I believe, to approve or disapprove the license. I believe you can request an extension if the applicant agrees to the extension, but I'm not sure how all of that works.
Miss Donna's muted.
Am I muted as well? This is Matt Anderson.
No, we can hear you.
I'm good. Yeah, you're correct. Your understanding is right. We can approve of an extension. Other than that, that is the law. Without a denial or an approval, it would be deemed approved. I will say on that note, we have 6 months from being awarded the liquor license bid to apply to make application to the Liquor Control Board. So that was awarded recently. It was in June, I believe. Yeah, June 18th they awarded them. So we would need to move forward on this license by December at the latest with regard to the Liquor Control Board. So I mean I've done extensions before. I'd be more than happy if that would make the council more comfortable with, and if that's enough time, even, I mean, I wouldn't say December maybe, but maybe a few months or a month to get some of this stuff in compliance and maybe have the health inspector out. He's not on anymore. I lost his last name. To maybe get some of this stuff straightened out that were issues this evening and come back for a subsequent hearing If that would make the council feel better, I'm certainly, I think Jeremy would probably agree that that would be something that would benefit us. We just do have that long-term time restriction for December of filing this application. So that's something that we can't control necessarily, but we filed this fairly quickly, so we do have some time that we could handle some of those situations.
How does council feel on that particular note?
I would agree with you, Wayne, that about pushing that back. Definitely more than a month, though.
I think pushing back is wise. I'm concerned, Mr. Yanos' response on defining remediation. I personally don't feel that December is long enough.
Mr. Yanos said that he would want a year of quarterly inspections to be, without incident. So I don't know. I agree that I don't know that if December's long enough.
That's what we have as a maximum from the law. So we can't go past that with Liquor Control Board. If we don't file by that date, we lose our ability to file the transfer for that license. And obviously, we're willing to work with the city, but we can't, legally agree to go past that date, or we're just going to forfeit our right to this license and money that we had put down for it. So I understand the same situation. It's just what we're stuck with legally, timing wise.
Okay.
So what I'm understanding, Mr. Chairman, is that for everyone's best interest, this should come to a vote on Monday.
That sounds like what we should be doing, unless there's a consensus for asking for the extension. But Richard, do you have anything you'd like to share on it?
I'm in agreement with the rest of council. I think, yeah, like I said, I voiced my concerns. I want to see these guys be successful, but they need to really get their act in order as far as food safety goes. And so I'm okay with that.
Okay.
With that decision. Yeah.
Okay, well, we can ask for an extension, or we can on Monday take it to a vote. Just kind of trying to see where everybody's at here.
It needs to come to a vote on Monday.
Okay.
Joe, what are you saying?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Fine.
Personally, I would like to see him, an extension, and then get a report back from Glenn to see what he says.
I agree.
So why won't I think the plan should be then, Mr. Chairman, is you would just proceed as planned. It'll be brought up on Monday's schedule, and if there's a motion, you'll proceed that way.
Okay.
You've heard the testimony, you've asked your questions, and then the council can decide how to proceed on Monday.
Okay. So we don't need to have anyone approve that, take that motion today.
Well, no, I think you can do that at the council meeting on Monday.
At the council meeting.
Donna, I think what he's asking, how they usually say, okay, I'll be the one to make the motion. That's what he's asking.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Mr. Chairman, you should. Well, I don't know what the pleasure of the board would be. So, do you have to assign that to someone? Can someone just offer a motion?
I will just offer to take it if it makes things easier.
Okay. All right. Then we'll wait till Monday. All right. Okay. All right. The next resolution that we have is to the commissioners of Lebanon County requesting $25,477 in financial aid for the improvement of city streets and authorizing the proper officials to execute an application for the same. And Mayor, did you want to share anything there?
Sure. So this is our annual allocation based on the last census figure. This is a liquid fuel tax fund allotment, and it's distributed through the county, and it must be dispersed through the general fund. So this is kind of an annual item that we do, and we're putting it towards repair of streets. In particular, this will go towards the repair of a sinkhole.
Okay.
I can take
Who would,
that. I can take that.
Mr. Morales going to take that? Thank you. Okay. Our next resolution is authorizing the mayor of the city of Lebanon to enter into a reimbursement agreement for the Lebanon City Resurface Phase 1 of Walnut Street US 422 project. Mayor, everybody likes talking about Walnut Street. You want to talk a little more?
I can't wait till someday we never talk about this again. So I guess we're getting one step closer. I think we were verifying our let date. The last correspondence we had, the estimated let date was September of 2020. I know that they had told us that they were looking to award this in the spring of next year. It would not start until the spring of next year. I'm not sure if Robin had an opportunity to find anything else out, but this is for phase 1, and phase 1 is from on Walnut Street from 12th to 5th Avenue, and also 12th Street from Cumberland to Walnut. So that's phase 1, and phase 1 represents a little over $1.9 million. So this is basically to enter into a reimbursement agreement because the city has the lead on the project, and the construction reimbursement is 100%. The city's not paying for construction. We're paying for design and our engineering, and we've been taking that out of the liquid fuel tax fund for the last couple of years.
Okay. Who would like to take that
Amy
resolution?
Keller will take that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Was there any questions from media on that resolution?
No.
And any questions from the public?
No.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Okay, that brings us to the next point on our pre-council agenda. And Amari has asked to give some remarks tonight regarding the Arts Council. So the floor is yours, sir.
Amari? It shows he's still on and he's unmuted.
Hello.
There he is.
Yep.
Hey.
Hi, Amari.
Hello. Thank you. My name is Amari Abreu. I live on 409 Chestnut Street, Lebanon, PA 17042. Before I go into business, I want to say something really quick. I believe these meetings are here for the public, and one of the things that people sometimes feel intimidated to even attend is because of the fact that they have to publicly share their address. I would like at some point for that to be brought up to the attention of the council and the mayor, specifically because you guys have to lead by example. I believe that if we have to share our address, you should share your address as well. You don't have to say anything about that. That's just something I wanted to bring up to your attention.
Well, Amari, just let me interject real quick. That is the law. That is a requirement.
But why you guys don't have to share yours?
It's public record.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Good to know. Where can that information be found?
It's probably on all of our election information when we filed to run.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Alrighty. So today I want to make the proposal for an arts commission. I have been doing a lot of research for the past month, and something that has come to my attention is that Lebanon City does not have an arts commission. And so because of that, I took the time to really understand the purpose of an art commission, and I have sent a while ago to all of you an example of another city, small city, that has an art commission. The name of the city is the city of Sikkim. And I believe you were forwarded that information, which also I have to state, it was really hard to get confirmation from the city email about that. It took a couple of weeks. So that being said, I just want to share some of the commissions that we currently have right now in Lebanon. We have the Board of Health, City of Lebanon Authority, Coleman's Park, Board of Trustees, Fire Prevention Board of Appeals, Housing Board of Appeals, Planning Commission, Police and Fire, Civil Service Commission, Shade Tree Commission, Transit Authority, and Blue and Bus Schedules, Zoning Hearing Board, but nothing for an Arts Commission. So I want to show you some data of why it is important that we have an Arts Commission. And I also forwarded that information to all of you, so you should have it somewhere if you had the time to review that. So the arts contributes $763.6 billion to the US economy, more than agriculture, transportation, or warehousing. The arts employs 4.9 million workers across the country with earnings of more than $360 billion. Furthermore, the arts exported $20 billion more than it imported, providing a positive trade balance. The National Endowments of the Arts Chairman, Jane Shu, said, "The data confirms that the arts plays a meaningful role in our daily lives, including through the jobs we have, the products we purchase, and the experiences we share." Also, something that came to the attention through the information gathered is that 4.2% of the GDP comes from the arts here in the United States, accounting for 4.9 million workers who earn $372 billion in total compensation. The arts added 4 times more to the US economy than the agricultural sector and 200 billion more than transportation or warehousing. The arts trended positively between 2012 and 2015 with an average growth rate of 2.6%, slightly higher than 2.4% from the nation's overall economy. Between 2014 and 2015, the growth rate was 4.9% in inflation-adjusted dollars. Also, tax-exempt performing arts organizations contributed $9 billion to the U.S. economy and employed 90,000 workers who earned $5.6 billion in total compensation. Consumers spent $31.6 billion on admission to performing art events, $1 billion more than projected. The value added by performing arts presenting tax-exempt and for-profit rose by 9.5% during the recent 3-year period. In 2016, it showed that the arts contributed to more than $804.2 billion to the US economy. The average annual growth rate for the arts and cultures outperforms the growth rate of the total US economy. I'm gonna keep going with this. Museums alone added 5.3 billion to the US economy. The sector grew modestly between 2012 and 2015 at an annual rate of 0.8%. And it's not just the major cities who are benefiting from this. In 2015, the arts contributed to 67.5 billion to the economies of states where 30% of more of the population lives in rural areas. Nearly 630,000 workers in states such as Washington and Utah work in culture. Not only that, the social impact of the arts is undeniable. A new study in the UK quantified just how much arts offering influence people's choices to relocate or stay in a particular city. 68% of the respondents of this survey stated that arts and cultural events were very important for helping them feel part of their community. Over half would like to see more offerings in the area, and nearly 2/3 said that arts and culture were good for their personal well-being. The hard evidence shows that the arts matter to people across the country and makes it clear for the case of a great greater investment in culture. Some of the takeaways from this study was that art is crucial to community building. Art and culture can draw new residents. Art is essential to well-being, and businesses find them a little less essential. But an arts commission opens the door for those businesses to have those types of conversations. Also, something else that came from social studies is that at-risk students involved in the arts are 23 percentage points more likely to attend college than peers who have a low involvement in the arts. 67% of music therapy participants with dementia felt less anxious and reduced their use of medication. Concentrated cultural districts are associated with reduced poverty, without neighborhood displacement, improved child welfare, and lower morbidity. 45% of medical institutions across the nation offer some sort of art program, with 8 out of 10 stating that they do so to benefit patient recovery. Also, there was a study in 2019 done by Bloomberg on the brain drain index, and it showed that Lebanon, PA had a score of 80.32% of people who have white-collar jobs leaving the county because of not being able to find work. And I'm almost done here. Something that was found is that also art brings private investment to communities. It showed that, for example, there is at least $58 billion available to invest from the private sector to the arts. All of this to say that it is undeniable, showing based on the data, that we need an arts commission. And I know, and I'm glad that we have now a mural and a street art approval board, but that is not enough. Cities like Allentown, Lancaster, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh have an arts commission with representation of multiple artists from different backgrounds in the community. Just recently, Lancaster received federal funding to hire new staff, and that funding was about $50,000 to hire a new manager for their art programs in the city. I've been meeting with multiple different artists in the community to really ask them how they feel about arts in Lebanon. And they say, we do not have support. We don't feel that we have support from the local government. So that being said, and based on that information, some of the other stuff that I was able to gather are some little bits of testimonials. For example, Alex Estanila said that every time, it's very often that when he plays music somewhere here in Lebanon, people tell him, I did not know we had things like what you're offering here in the community. We also came to the conclusion, based on different meetings from or with artists, that art is the language of humanity. That being said, I want to propose to the council and the mayor the creation for an arts commission comprised of artists in the community who represent different aspects of the arts, all the way from theater to painting to music and all the other forms. We also understand that arts help people in the community take ownership, and it also has shown to be a marketing strategy for communities in different parts of the country to bring people to them. I have a list of at least 24 different people in the community, and at least 60% of them who are artists who would love to become part of this arts commission. So that being said, that's all the information I had, and that's what I wanted to present to the council and the mayor today.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Abreu?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Emery, I'm just out of curiosity. I mean, obviously the Lebanon County Council for the Arts exists. My understanding is that Lancaster City itself does not have its own council. That in Lancaster, it's at the county level as well. What do you propose that this city level organization does and supports differently than the county level organization that exists now?
Honestly, if you take the time to talk to people in the community, you're gonna hear things like, first of all, we don't feel welcome there, or I didn't know there was an actual arts council. And I want to be clear with this. I have nothing with the arts council, or I have nothing against the arts council, but also Lancaster City does have an arts commission. If you go to their website, you'll find that they do have an arts commission. So in the city level, you are going to be able to find that when communities have artistic representation in a government level, it facilitates the ability for those communities to receive funding. Lebanon does not have any type of representation. So the state and the federal government, when they look at Lebanon, they realize, well, they don't have anything for the arts specifically when it comes to an arts commission. Why would we even care to give them money in that aspect? And we don't have that. So we definitely need that. This is going to improve our local economy. And it's gonna help our reputation. Lebanon City, and I'm telling you this from testimonials of friends. My friends who live, some of them live outside the city, in the outskirts of the city. They don't feel comfortable coming to the city. The city does not have a good reputation. And so if we create this opportunity, this space for the Arts Commission to support organizations like the Arts Council that we have, artistic related businesses in the area who also need the help, it will definitely improve the reputation of the city, which right now is not good.
Amari, I question. So I spoke to a few artists and actual business folks from the city and asked them about this, your proposal. And they asked me, why would we duplicate the Lebanon Valley Council of the Arts? Therefore, less government as opposed to more government. And I have to tell you, I would ask the same thing. We already have the Lebanon Valley Council of the Arts, beautiful building downtown. And having spoken with the president, Sharon Zook, I know they could always use more money. Why wouldn't and why shouldn't we just try and help them out? Lebanon is definitely not a Lancaster or a New York or Philly or Pittsburgh. Not that we don't want to be. The city of Sequoiam, I looked over the information you have here. Great city with an annual budget of $37 million. I mean, I wish we had a budget that high. We might be doing a whole lot more. So my question is, why we're basically reproducing something that we already have. And Lebanon City has worked well with the county, which we need. We have a lot of arts that go on within the county. It's scratching each other's back. So why would we want to duplicate this?
First of all, the Arts Council, it's open once a week on Saturdays for like 2 hours, and then once a month for first Fridays.
Because they don't have the volunteers. That's correct.
Okay, great. But also, like, the Arts Council, it's limited in its capacity to receive support.
How so?
Well, because they're a nonprofit organization, they're a private entity, and we need representation government-wise to be able to receive. And also,
you can get the same grants that we can get.
Can I finish my point?
Absolutely.
We like, if the council and the mayor had people, artists in the community, people who are in the day-to-day and actually understand Lebanon and the struggle, because if you talk to them, they'll tell you like they don't feel the support, and a lot of artists have a bad relationship with the Arts Council. Like I have to tell you, they have a bad relationship with it. There's not a good history with the Arts Council, and the community council and the mayor needs to be advised in these matters. Like it just doesn't make sense why cities like Lancaster, why cities like Allentown, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia are able to have these types of commissions, and we feel like, oh, it will be more government. It is simply a group of people advising the council and the mayor on a topic that will help the city. And I actually, there's people, there's someone that was recommended to help with the process even for grant writing, and advise if this arts commission will be approved to happen. And also we cannot afford having the same group of people being appointed for this type of stuff. We need different people. We cannot keep having the same people. And I have nothing against the people who were appointed for the design and street art street approval board. I have nothing against no one in that group, but we need different people because they keep being the same. So we need different representation.
I would interject there. I would ask that council, when we have presentations like this, if we could listen to hear and not to refute, because what I'm hearing is a lot of mental tics that had been taken down that we can use as reasons to refute this. And this gentleman has put in a lot of time coming up with presentations. He's done extensive research that backs up his position, 14 pages of data and research to back it up. So I would just ask that we listen to hear. A couple points that I listed here, the comment about less versus more government. The Arts Council is not a government entity. They are a nonprofit organization. They get different avenues for funding because of their nonprofit status that the city would be available to, because they are a governmental institution, obviously, being a city municipality. The Arts Council, like I said, is a nonprofit. I'm not sure how long they've been honestly in operation, but you said we have something in place to do this, but they're struggling, and for us to just say, we're just going to let it up to you guys. They already have a very slim volunteer base. They need help. They need funding. They need support. And what I'm hearing from at least you, Joe, is that you do support the arts, but we don't supporting it in a way that it's going to be able to grow. What they're doing right now is they're spinning their wheels and they're trying their best. And what he's proposing is a way that we can expand upon that so that we can use the arts as a leverage tool to increase some revitalization here, to increase the economy. And he's right. A lot of people want to see more arts opportunities. They want to see a performing arts center where we could have concerts. Everybody talks about the heyday of Lebanon when we had these venues and people would come from all over the country to perform here. And that we have no venue available for anything like that other than our the expo, but that's not within the city. The other thing that I wanted to just touch on that he had mentioned was brain drain. We are the #1 town for brain drain. And people who are smart and have college degrees, they want to be able to do things that are cultural and that they can engage in at a real cerebral level. And we don't really have a whole lot of that going on here. And if we can bolster the Arts Council with a commission that at first would just be purely volunteer. We wouldn't even need to put money into it at first. This is just asking. It's a plea for you to just please listen to hear and consider ways that we could form a volunteer commission, that we can come up with ideas of what are all of the other cities around us doing? What are the pots of money that they're pulling into with their city commissions and able to use streams of revenue so that they can support a revitalization of the arts in their cities? We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we need a mechanism to at least start the process here to support our Arts Council. I think we need to look at our Arts Council as a very effective organization at what they are able to do, but they are limited in scope. And as Amari had said, they're only open one Saturday for 2 hours because of their lack of volunteers. They need our support, and I just think that it's time that we don't just shirk that responsibility, because as a city, there are many other cities that have taken this on, and I don't think that we need to look at ourselves as any better than any other city, that we don't have to do that for our residents. I think that that's a positive thing that we could do, is to enact an arts commission, and it's something that out of fairness, that because he has put so much time into this, that we at least owe him that consideration.
Amy,
Mr. Chair,
one,
Mr.
if I may, I don't appreciate you telling me how to ask him questions and accusing me of not listening. Okay? And I say that respectfully.
I hear you, Joe.
I was elected. All right. And if I want to ask questions, I will ask questions.
I know. And didn't it feel, I know earlier Mayor was telling me, Amy, this is really written just fine. And I feel you, because I felt that when she said it to me earlier too. So I feel you, Joe. And I apologize. I'm sorry.
And I do support the arts. I do support the arts. And I love the arts. I think everything that Amari has brought out, I 100% agree with arts in our city and our community. I'd love to see more. All I'm saying is that we have an organization
that is not doing enough.
I would like to see us support them more to bring them to a better place. They already have a building. They're doing great things in the community. They work with the county. We as the city need the county.
Joe, do you ever volunteer for the Arts Council?
Pardon me?
Do you ever do any volunteer work for the Arts Council? Are you a member?
I am a member. I haven't done any volunteering for them. I contribute when I can.
Right.
I have contributed, yes. I sit on numerous boards and volunteer, Salvation Army.
No, I'm just asking about the Arts Council.
Okay, I'm a member. I haven't done any volunteering, no. I'm stretched pretty thin.
But you do recognize that they need more volunteers.
Absolutely.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I would be open to it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would be open to serving with you, honestly. We can get together, because I volunteer routinely with them.
Okay, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
So Sharon Zook has had her hand raised for quite some time, so
Sorry, Sharon.
I'd like to give her an opportunity to speak. But I just want to say
recognize
one thing.
her.
I would
Yep,
like to say
go
one
ahead.
thing to Councilwoman Keller. I did not say that it was well written. I was reading what the purpose of the section was. Thank you. So Sharon, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Sharon Zook, and I'm from Lebanon Valley Council on the Arts, and I'm open to any criticisms or comments about the Lebanon Valley Council on the Arts, because I agree that one organization can't do everything for a city. And I would say over the last couple of years, we were concentrating on property and getting ourselves financially sustainable and securing property so that we're going to be here for the long haul. And we put less energy into, I would say, promoting and advertising and, probably like putting our image out into the public. However, as the funds come in, we've been concentrating on putting that into public art so that the public could enjoy the talent that is in the area. And we are limited in terms of what we can do with the space that we've, with the space that we own. Before the Arts Council was purchased, so that the Lebanon Valley Council on the Arts is the conduit for channeling the state funds from Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. And we have been receiving funding from them through competitive grants on a project-to-project basis for probably over the past, since 2007 or 8, when the first building was purchased. So the Arts Council was in existence since 1975, but until they purchased property, it was just kind of a group of artists that would get together and do things once in a while. But after property was purchased, then it became, and they started the First Friday Art Walks. It made art more visible in the in the city. But prior to that, a market study was done for visual and performing arts, and we do have that. That was like a $20,000 or $25,000 publicly funded project to do a survey on the community as to what the demographics are and what the interests are in art in the community, and it's comprehensive. So even though it's outdated in some respects, I just pulled it out and was reading through it again, and I see that our demographics were different back then. And I'm sure by next year, we're going to get a whole new set of demographics to know exactly a little more representation of what's in Lebanon. But I think it's still going to serve as some kind of a basis. And I believe we need to get together with more entities to see how we can collaborate. When Kelly Witham was here, we started to put together a resource where we could list all the artists and what type of art they did, so that there would be a resource in the community that was readily available, much like the businesses do with the chamber. You know, you put all the business names together. So that was started. She had someone doing an internship through the college that helped work on that. So some of these projects we work on as we have funding and resources, but in the case of like that project, that was just temporary help. And then Kelly Witham moved on. So, you know, when people change over, it's a bit of a challenge to keep on track and keep all that stuff updated. But it's something we're definitely working on, and something definitely we're open to engaging more people and seeing how we can build together more. We were coming up with some concepts for keeping the gallery open more often and making our space more available, but COVID kind of interrupted some of those things too. So, you know, I'd be willing to, you know, sit down. I did receive this Arts Advisory Commission from this other city, and I do want to kind of put together what the elements are of the commission and what elements are in place already in the county, because I think in this area, some of the funding channels, I think maybe some of the resources might be more available through the county than city funding, but without sitting down and figuring that out, offhand, I don't, you know, I'm not exactly sure about that. But we are Lebanon Valley Council in the Arts, and the feasibility study was done throughout the county.
Thank you, Sharon, very much for sharing. Amora, I got a question for Mr. Abreu. You still there, buddy? Yeah. Thank you. The group of artists that you said don't feel that they have the support of the Lebanon Valley Council of Arts, would they be willing to take a step and spend some time volunteering there and working with them to see if they couldn't create a better Lebanon Valley Council of Arts?
I can ask that question, but this is my argument to all of this, and what is being shared is that this arts commission, as Amy said, there's no actual funding like needed for this to start. These people are going to volunteer to make this happen. It's also going to open the opportunity to also provide more education to the community as a whole. And again, as I said, advising the city council and the mayor on topics like this, because art is not only theater, it's not only painting. Art goes all, like, there's so many aspects of it, and if we are just focusing on one specific thing, and again, as I said, I love Sharon Sook, and she knows that, and we're actually gonna have a meeting tomorrow. And I love the Arts Council. I had a relationship with the family of the people who helped make this happen. So all of this is to support it. the community council does not have a group of people who can advise them in topics like this. And we need that. And this group of people will be willing to provide that information. I don't understand why is it so hard to take a group of volunteers who are willing to spend time with you and educate all of us in the topic of the arts. Like the idea that we can't simply accept the fact that we need to change and we need to move forward does not make sense. Lebanon has done nothing significant since I came here in regards to the arts. We like people need to go to Lancaster, to Philly, to Harris, to other places to enjoy anything artistic. And just once a month, we have the opportunity to do that here when it comes to First Fridays, which amazing and great. But I don't understand. It just doesn't make sense. And this is why I'm so glad this is happening publicly, because I want people to hear how is it that not all of the community council, but some part of the community council and the mayor seem to have an issue with simply taking a group of people to advise them on a topic that is so important to their community. That is something that I will never understand. And it's okay. Like, you know what? I will encourage the community council and the mayor to not take this and not make this happen. Please don't make it happen. But this is only going to show the community that when it comes to actually caring to making changes and making things happen, part of the community council and the mayor does not care for progress and things to change, because we simply want to stay in the status quo.
Amari, I think some of the confusion here is that you keep indicating that this group is to advise the council. And I guess I'm struggling with that, because these things don't necessarily come before council. I mean, if there's going to be an arts event, that is well outside our realm. That's not, that we don't legislate events. So while I'm absolutely in support of the arts and more arts in the city of Lebanon, I'm looking at this saying, why is this part of city government? Not that I'm against it, but I'm not understanding why it's a part of city government, because under no circumstance is city council going to get asked to legislate an arts event. I mean, that's just not something that happens.
Chris, would you be willing to, and I'm honestly interested too, and I think that to do due diligence, maybe we could research how it works in other cities. You know, what does the Lancaster Arts Commission that's connected to their city provide that, like what you're saying, another entity would not? I think
exactly. That's why I'm struggling, because I'm in
Amari
favor of
doesn't
it.
have. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go
That's
ahead.
okay. I'm in favor of it, but I'm just really struggling saying, okay, great, let's do this. Let's get this group of
Right.
people together. But at the same time, I don't want them to get together and then feel ineffective because there's not anything for them to do.
Right. And
That's
I
not
think
true,
this is
Chris.
just a preliminary, a preliminary suggestion and something for us to start thinking about, and something that
Sure.
obviously something of this capacity would take a lot more than just a little, half-hour presentation, which he
Oh,
did
yeah.
a very good job, but it's something that we'd have to think about and research and look to our neighboring cities. And I'd be willing to do that. I just wonder if you would do the same, just to give it some due diligence. And
I mean, I'm definitely in favor. I'm just trying to understand organizationally what
And Amari's
who does
not
what.
part of an organization like that, but he has done a lot of good research to see how the other ones work. So I don't really expect him to answer all of the questions, but I would be willing to do some research on my own to figure it out.
Well, can I interrupt really quick? That's why I sent the example of the city of Sikkim to show what their arts commission does for the city. I mean, unless you didn't take the time to review that, which that goes beyond me or whoever. Like, that's the whole point of sending all of this information was sent beforehand, so that nobody can claim ignorance on the topic of what is the role of an arts commission. That's why, if I sent this 3 weeks ago, and it took 3 weeks for me to get confirmation that the community council received this information. And that goes beyond me. I have no control of that. So
Amari,
Amari, you
city
didn't have the,
council, and
you
sent
didn't
it
have
to
the
the
correct
wrong
email address.
You sent it to the wrong email address the first time,
How did you know that, Mr. Morales?
because I saw it on his Facebook, because you gave him the.
that email was intended to be the main.
Email, Amy.
Oh.
I saw the email that was there, and it was a long email that wasn't a city.gov, and you had given him
Gotcha.
the mayor's.
Oh, wait, did I comment on it?
No, you just gave him the proper email.
Oh, I don't remember.
Amari, I really appreciate what you're doing and coming. You have to, I have to learn as I go, okay? And I did look at the Lebanon Valley Council of Arts, and I looked at their mission statement and their vision statement and their services. And I think there's a great bones there of what we want to do with the arts in Lebanon City and Lebanon County. I think there's a great bones there. I had a mentor here from council before that used to say, we don't always have to reinvent the wheel. And possibly working, we can look at all these different things. We want to do what's best. We want to come up with what's best. But, like I said, looking at the vision, mission statement, services and such, we've got a foundation there. We've got bones there. And maybe what we need to do is look at seeing what we can all do together to create a even bigger and better arts council coming out of this. I don't know. I'm willing to learn as we go, but we don't necessarily have to divide and conquer. As my mentor used to say, sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to make the wheel a little smoother.
We're not reinventing the wheel, and we're also not competing. This is not to compete with the Arts Council. It has been stated since the beginning, and it was gonna always be stated that this specific idea is not to compete with any artistic organization in the community. It's actually to support the Arts Council even more and all the other organizations in the community or / businesses who would love for this to happen. I've had multiple meetings with different artists in the community, and they all agree that this needs to happen because other cities have it. So again, I have no problem with the city, reviewing this and taking the time to understand that, and the mayor as well, that you're more than welcome to do that. But the Arts Council has been there for years, and it's virtually dead. It's open once a week, 2 hours, and then first Fridays. That's it. Other than that, there's nothing else. So yeah, please take the time to study it and really understand what an arts commission will do for the city.
And just as a follow-up, Chris, you had asked about what does it do? And I did print out that plan. I think it's on page 3. And there's a section, what is the role of CAAC, Community Advisory Arts Council?
Yeah, no, I'm familiar
and
with
then
the
it does
document.
list, are there 8? Yeah, there are 8 bullet points there that it lists what the role would be for that. So maybe review that page, and then that would be an answer to your question. And yeah, so it is listed there.
Okay, well then I think what we want to do is just do some more learning and check out some places, other places, like you said, we're looking at Lancaster and some other places, see what's going on, and continue to do some due diligence with this.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, you're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, okay. Am I there? Am I on?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to say, I was thinking about this as the discussion was going on. It's in Lebanon, things have been kind of operating in little bubbles. I've been with the Arts Council since 2013, but for example, We have Lebanon Community Theater. I know people who come from Lancaster County to come up to see the performances at the theater. There's performances in Mount Gretna. They operate in their little bubble, although there have been collaborations. They've already used our space for rehearsals. They've also gotten entertainers in that did, someone came from Jersey to do hip hop last summer. So we do have some collaborations, but I do think that maybe we do operate a little bit too much within our bubbles. But some of that may be because we're doing so much with volunteer help and they know more about the performing arts. So they operate in that little bubble. And, you know, we may have people with backgrounds in other areas that we operate in our little bubble.
Yeah, and that is it is listed. That's the third item. It says coordinate and strengthen existing organizations like the Lebanon Valley Council on the Arts and like our wonderful Lebanon Community Theater in the field of art, and develop cooperation within schools as well as regional and national art organizations. So that council that's related to the city would help to, like she said, get it less factioned and get everybody operating sort of more collectively so that all of the parts work together. And one of the things that I read in this proposal was a problem that they had seen was that there was a lot of conflict with all of the different organizations, like things were planned at the same time and then you had overlapping events. And eventually, as you get a very thriving arts community, that ends up being like a good thing because there's so much going on that you can't avoid that overlap. But at the stage that we're at now, we don't have that much going on, and that would be a good function of a community arts council just as getting started. And again, that would be a no-cost way to get started. You would simply be like coordinating calendars, basically, and have a group devoted to do that. Because if you ask all of the boards of each of those individual organizations, like, let's all get together and it's really hard just coordinating schedules to be able to do something like that. So that may just be a jumping off point, like a very first function of a committee like this.
Amy, I think what you're saying there is absolutely valid. You know,
Thanks, Joe.
Again, my feeling is this is a county. We're at a county level here. We all support each other.
So do you think maybe like a?
That's all. I'm sorry.
I see what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay. Is there any questions from media?
Yes. Go ahead, Laura.
I'm sorry, did you mean specifically about the Arts Commission or just generally?
Either or tonight. We're wrapping up.
Okay, I don't have anything about the Arts Commission. Good luck to all of that. My question, though, was on the Lebanon Small Business Recovery Assistance Program. If we could just if you might just have a brief update. I'm interested in how many applications were submitted, if any of the grants have been awarded yet, and if this withholding of CARES Act funding by Governor Wolf, if that is going to impact delivery of those grants.
So I'm looking for my list, Laura, and I apologize. I actually forgot to get back to you. I apologize. I believe, and Janelle or Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 41 businesses and it's around a little over $150,000. Is that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that's how many people we had in round one. So what we're going to do is we're going to have another round, probably, we don't have a specific date yet, but most likely it will be around September, because Community First Fund, who is processing all of the paperwork, because you have to be a required type of organization to do these type of forgivable loans. And they have other similar programs that they're running in other cities. So because of that time commitment made to the other cities, it would be pushed a couple months down the road. But we're hopeful, and we anticipate that we'll fully expend that money in round two, because we've had a lot of businesses that have contacted us after round one the deadline had expired. Because it's money that came directly from the feds through HUD, there are some requirements some criteria that had to be met. Not a lot, just a couple, but one of them is each of the businesses have to have a DUNS number. It is not hard to obtain, but it's just the period of time that it takes to get that number is about 30 days. So they can't disperse the funds until they have the DUNS number. Now, Community First Fund is doing everything in their power to help each business that doesn't have one obtain one very quickly. So the organizations the businesses rather that have the DUNS number, their money should be released, I think in the next week or so. And then the businesses that need to obtain the DUNS number from that organization, it may be another month till they would see their money. This pot of money, because it's coming directly from the feds, cannot be held up by the governor and was not held up by the governor. We just got our notification from HUD of the approval and of, I guess, the award recognition is what you would call it. So because it's coming directly from the feds, because we are an entitlement city, that is why our money came from the federal government. The county, because they have less than a 500,000 population, their money had to come from discretion by the governor.
Okay, and so am I understanding then that all 41 businesses in round one will be receiving whatever it was that they were requesting? Is that
all of them,
correct?
all of those businesses over the couple week period of time that the grant period was open, they all were vetted. We had to determine that they were really located in the city of Lebanon, that they did not have any outstanding taxes owed to any level of government or liens, that they were in good standing with the city, that they had all their permits. There were a couple of businesses that actually didn't have permits, but we worked very quickly to give them their permit. And then again, the DUNS number, the application itself, it's maybe seemed a little daunting, but when you compare it to the PPP program or one of the other programs that have been put out, it was quite simple. There was some information that the businesses had to give that were of personal finances, and there were some business owners that were a little hesitant about that, and that's only because it's a HUD requirement. But again, as long as the business, it's so simple, as long as they can prove through a simple receipt, photocopy of, I paid my rent with this, I paid my mortgage with this, I paid my employees, I bought supplies for COVID, I bought sneeze guards, whatever, it will be forgiven and it will be a grant. So I don't anticipate, unless someone, and I've said this before, unless someone takes the money and goes to Jamaica with it, it's going to be forgiven and it will turn into a grant. So I'm really pleased that we've been able to help, 41 businesses, and I hope we can help 40 more businesses in round two.
What were the businesses? Would you characterize them as those smaller, like less than 50,000 or less, the gross sales where you had the 3 tiers? Were most of them in the lower range of gross income, or were there some of the ones that were up around $1 million or whatever?
Oh boy.
It was pretty mixed.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't, I just was curious if it was more.
And the types of uses there were some hair salons, some restaurants, some businesses that actually, some were operating out of their home, or just things that we didn't even realize that type of business existed, to be honest, like a courier service, or it was just interesting to see the different businesses. I mean, we're so, you see the storefront ones and those kind of jump out at you, but there were some that were like the home occupation type business that really was enlightening. And again, we're just really pleased that we've been able to help them. And I I just wish more businesses would apply because it's not that difficult and Community First Fund is very helpful. And so I would just encourage other businesses when we open round 2 to please apply.
But it would be fair to say that they should, if they don't have this DUNS number, because candidly, I got a phone call from a city business owner. I think I told this to Janelle in an email, who said they applied for the federal funds, the PPP, and they said that was way simpler than what the Community First Fund was requesting of them. So, and he called right after I had done a newscast where I had done one of the stories with you at that time. And so I guess you would probably want to say that if businesses don't have these requisite DUNS numbers or license numbers, they should try to square that up before they apply in round 2.
Yeah, and we know of some businesses that want to apply in round 2, so we've already given them the heads up so they can start working on that, or have Community First Fund help them. I can only go on what Community First Fund shared with us. Of course, we're government employees and most of us don't own a business and have not applied for any of these other programs. So we're going based on, what we're told, and we were informed that this was a pretty simple process and wasn't as involved as these other loan programs. So, we'll have to talk more with Community First Fund about that. But these are requirements that HUD put on us. So we took the very basic approach that we could. So I don't know if it's a difference because it's coming directly from HUD instead of through the state, and that's why. I'm not sure.
Okay.
This is our first time doing a program like this, and I hope to goodness that we never experience this again.
Amen. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura, and I apologize for not getting back to you.
Well, it's
Thank you,
okay.
Laura. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. And Cheryl, you're my hero. Thank you. I love you.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public that has anything they would like to share?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay. Anybody yet from council, anything to share for the good of the city?
Mr. Chairman, I have a, yes, I have a, I noticed this is for Robin, a broken branch from the storm yesterday. It's hanging in the Christmas lights on Cumberland Street in front of Lozers. It was coming down pretty low. I just wanted to let you know about that. If one of the men could get out there and maybe, lop it off. It's still attached to the tree, but it's broken. And this is for the chief. I had my monthly visit from Mr. John Drawd of Drawd's Derailment, and he is concerned about the bail bonds people parking in front of his store every day, all day long. And he, like I said, he comes down at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, and he knows when our meeting is, and he's unable to get here, but he asked me to pass that along to you, Chief. That's it.
Thank you, Richard.
He reminded me of one thing with the branch. At the end of 4th Street at 4th and Pershing, 412 Pershing Avenue, the gentleman there struggles. He had a moment of something the one night and spray painted all over the sidewalk. So there's spray paint on the sidewalk there. I don't know if that's the property owner's responsibility to take care of, but it is a residence. So I don't know. I just wanted to report it. I did tell Glenn about it in an email about a week ago. I think it was Glenn. Is Mr. Llanos the same person that would take care of the graffiti stuff? Okay. So I did email him, but yeah, it's still there. So just check that out. 412 Pershing.
And he did talk to me about that, so I know that
Okay. Thank you.
it would be the property owner's responsibility. Yes.
Is it? All right.
We are taking care of the street.
Thank you.
Any questions from anybody else?
No.
Okay. We want to wish everybody a good evening, and we'll see you Monday at 6:30. Thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.